done this thing that I'm doing right now, I've done 7 times. So there's the whole thing.
No, thank you.
Can you cut? Even... I'm gonna pee. Leave it. Leave it. I'm gonna do it. That's it. Sewing or not sewing, both are easy options. Do it. Guys, if you liked this video, I need you to move. I can't. Get out of here. Okay, you need to be like away.
Hit the bell if you want more of this. Whenever you're ready, we're rolling the cameras.
You must fluff.
Fluff Nation.
Fluff Nation. What's up, everybody? It's Friday. Yowza! I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the DIY Designer. My name's Orly Shani. If you have never been here, man, I'm so glad you found me. I do some really fun DIYs on this show, and today is no exception. I wore on a video maybe a week or 2 weeks ago a like charcoal gray sweatshirt with a bright neon lace up tie in the front. It was a DIY, and I got an insane amount of comments from you guys being like, yeah, cool video, that sweatshirt though. Yeah, love the video, but what about that sweatshirt? DIY that sweatshirt? Can I get a little of that sweatshirt? How about a DIY on that sweatshirt? So I hear you loud and clear. It is very similar to the technique I used in the game day football shirts where I did like the halter tops and the lace up back. It was a really similar technique, so I just assumed you guys were all gonna be like, oh, it's the same thing. But you were not like that. You were not like, oh, it's the same thing. I will link the game day one, and you're gonna wanna fast forward. Well, you should watch the whole thing if you haven't already seen it. But if you have, you're gonna fast forward to the 49ers sweatshirt, and that is where you can see the no-sew version of this. So if you don't know how to sew, I will show you exactly how to do it with fabric glue. If you do know how to sew, I'm gonna show you like the real legit way of making it that will allow you to chuck this sucker in the wash from now until you're 95 years old, and nothing will happen to it. It is something I get a ton of compliments on, so this is totally worth doing. And the lace in the actual sweatshirt can be swapped out seasonally. So you can do really fun colors so that it always looks like this ever evolving, always on trend, always in season sweatshirt, because you can swap that bad boy out. If you enjoy this video, which I really hope that you do, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell so that you get a notification, help me grow, help me do more DIYs. Okay? Okay? I'm relying on you to help me do that. Materials. All right, so we're gonna start with the shirt first. First thing you do is grab it by the center of the collar and the center of the hem to separate the front of the shirt from the back. You wanna fold it in half, but make sure that your side seams, your underarm seams, and the seams of your collar are all lined up, so when you cut, you're cutting evenly. Now decide how deep you want the V and start a really strong point. You're cutting both at the same time until you get right about to an inch or two from the collar. Then I recommend opening it so that you can see where you're cutting, ensuring that you're ending up perfectly symmetrical. Now cut the piece that you've cut out away from the collar right up until that edge, till you end up with your nice big opening. Now you're going to grab whatever tape you're using. I decided to use grommet tape for this one, and just a heads up on this, this is the harder one to do because you only have a little bit of space to sew. So you're gonna line up the outer edge so that the grommet is free to actually be laced up. You don't wanna sew that all down. Put the edge of your grommet up against the collar so that you can cut on a curved edge following the natural line of the collar. Then just lay the grommet tape all the way to the bottom and cut it at once you're about an inch below the V. You wanna make sure you give yourself just a little bit of excess. Now I took the one side and used it as a guide to cut the other side so that again, that rounded edge of the collar would line up perfectly. Line it up to the bottom, use the one side as a guide, and just cut across so you end up with like a square edge. Now it's time to pin it on. Now, the first time I did it, I started by pinning it from the front side so I could see what I was doing. But the problem is that there's such a small amount of space that you actually have to pin. The edge of the t-shirt kind of wants to curl on you. You can't really see it. It can make it difficult. So I realized that flipping it inside out and pinning it that way was much easier. Because now you can see the white shirt is actually going on top of the black trim here because again, it's inside out. So I'm able to see what I'm doing, pin it all into place, do the same thing on both sides, again, making sure that you leave the grommets free and open to be laced up. Now you're just going to flip it back inside out so that you're actually ready to attach it. Now this is something that I learned after trying it the first time. Just in the very, very top and very bottom, I think it's really helpful to use just a dab of fabric glue instead of a pin. There's such little fabric that you actually have to hold on to on that top collar that when you go to try to sew it, it sort of like moves on you and the pressure of the sewing machine. I just found that it was a lot harder. So by using glue to hold it in place, it makes it super easy for that top part. Now, you want to swap out your regular presser foot. I don't know exactly what this one is called, but for me, it was the number 4 foot. It's a really skinny foot, and then you can move the needle all the way to the right or all the way to the left, depending on which side you're actually sewing. So you can see here, it's that skinny little foot that's holding everything in place, but my needle is all the way on the right, which allows me to sew down the grommet tape without going over the grommets. Now I want to show you how I laced this up. So first of all, you can see the bottom there of the grommet tape isn't actually sewn down. I'm going to do that after the fact once I get it all kind of in place. But basically what I did on this lace-up version, it's the same as I did on the neon, is that you're only seeing the crisscross on the front. You're not actually seeing it lace through the backside. So this is what you do. You're going to take your lace and you're going to go across, right? I'm doing one across. Now, instead of going back across, I'm going on the same side. So I'm hiding a stitch on the back side of the grommet. So again, go across. Now stay on the same side, loop up. And now when you crisscross again, you're not seeing that back side. For a shoelace like this, it doesn't matter, but if you have a ribbon that has a right and a wrong side, this makes it that you only see those X's. Now that everything's laced up, I'm gonna go back in there and reinforce the bottom. So I'm just trimming it up to make sure it's perfect, going in with my sewing machine to just zigzag stitch across the bottom, and now the t-shirt version is done. So now let's move on to the sweatshirt real quick. Same thing, fold it in half, ensure everything's even, cut the beginning part all at once, then do the end part separately, obviously, so that you can make sure that you come up to that top in a perfectly even way. Now for this one, I'm using the D-ring tape, and you can see that it's actually so much easier because I have the full inch width of the cotton twill. That whole thing is able to be sewn down. So not only do I have the full inch of the cotton twill to work with, but I also can overlap it on my sweatshirt with a full inch, which just gives me a lot more room. I'm not avoiding those grommets. Once you get to the bottom, cut it evenly, and I would say the very bottom 2 D-rings, you're probably gonna wanna cut off because they're gonna overlap so closely that you won't be able to lace anything through there anyway. Now, I still have that old presser foot on there because it was hooked in, but you can actually go back and put your normal one on because again, you just have so much room to play with. It's super simple. This version, I laced up like normal, zigzagging, so you're seeing both the front and the back, so you're seeing twice as much lace, but it really just depends on you. This actually shows a little less skin, which is a bonus if that's what you want. Now just lace it up and you're done. We're done. We're done, my dudes. One thing I will recommend is even if you're doing the sewing version of this, like I did here, is using fabric glue in the more like persnickety, tedious spots where you might have a hard time keeping everything nice and flat, especially if you're a beginner sewer. That's a great way to keep everything flat and in place, and then you just go over it and sew it, and it's forever sewn. So even for me, I sew all the time, and I still use that little hack. It still helps me all the time. If you liked this video, I'm gonna ask a huge favor of you. Number one, I hope that you're already subscribed and have that bell clicked so that you get a notification. But the big favor, numero dos, would you share this? If you guys could click that share button, post it to your Facebook page or your Instagram page, screenshot it on whatever device you're on and upload it to your stories, anything that you can do to help the channel grow, I would so appreciate it. It makes all the difference in the world. All right, guys, I'm gonna walk outside like a freak, model in my front yard. See you next week.
You call me a saint, but you know I'm a stranger, all willing and able to do what you want. You think I'm a thinker, but I'm just a singer, all busy and pretty, just making believe. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling down to obscurity. Don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Out of control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself. you look worried, and maybe you should be. Cause this is a warning that I'm throwing out. Cause I'm the worst player that ever will play you, to mix up sweet words with the girl's sanity. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling down to obscurity. Don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know.